Hello, everyone. I'm Richard Duran, Marketing and Communications Manager at the American Public Gardens Association, and I will be your staff representative during this virtual conference session. Before we begin, here are a couple of tips to get the most out of your virtual conference experience. First, if you are experiencing poor video or audio quality, we suggest closing other programs on your computer, especially other browser tabs. Your inbox will still be there by the end of the session, I promise. If you have any other problems or questions, association staff are available to help. Give us a call at 610-708-3010 or send us an email at info@publicgardens.org. Second, while this session has been pre-recorded, the presenters are here with us today as panelists and will be happy to take questions in the live question and answer portions of the session. At some point during this session, the presenters may activate a poll. Poll responses are anonymous, so be sure to let us know how you really feel. Finally, you can submit questions using Zoom's Q&A function that you will find in your Zoom toolbar. Questions can be submitted anonymously. You can also upvote other questions to indicate you would like to hear them answered. We will try to answer as many questions as we can during the live Q&A portion of the session. Some questions may be answered directly through the Q&A feature. Thank you, and enjoy today's session.
Hi, and welcome to Reaching Younger Audiences, telling the stories of plant STEM careers through technology. My name is Megan Wiesbrook, and joining with me today is Jessica Turner-Scoff. Both of us are from the Morton Arboretum in Lisle, Illinois. I am the manager of school and camp programs at the Morton Arboretum, and Jessica is a science communication leader, treeologist. So we're excited to share with you some of our projects that we've used to reach this younger generation in a different way. So we wanted to start with a question, and this is a question that we've asked a number of different times as we want to inspire the next generation to think more about plant science and horticulture. How do we make it accessible to younger audiences? And the answer actually came out of a focus group that we had with 9th to 12th grade students. They were on site for a field trip program in which we were sharing with them some of our tree science and horticulture in different careers, kind of a career share day. And during lunch, we have like an informal networking time, and we asked them, how do you get your news? How do you get your information? And we were surprised. A lot of them answered that they would get from YouTube or podcasts. They all take public transportation to school, and so they have some time before and after school to be on their phones or tablets. And so we thought, well, this is a really unique way that we can reach this audience in a media that they're already digesting. We also learned that they wanted authentic stories. They wanted to hear from experts. So they wanted to hear from people in the field doing this work, giving them career advice, and that if this was something they were super interested in, kind of what could be their next step. We also wanted to have some easy to digest resources, some things that connected to the content itself. We obviously have a lot to share about these topics, and so we wanted it to be in really easy chunks for them to get to. So that is kind of the segue into the two different projects that we're going to talk about. The first is our podcast. This is what Jessica and I are the hosts of. It's called Planted, Finding Your Roots in STEM Careers. And the second project that we're going to talk about really dovetails nicely with this project as well, and it's more visual. The podcast, obviously very audio, but this is another visual project called the Canopy Career Chronicles, and it's a set of graphic novels. So we'll touch on both of these different projects during the presentation. So I want to jump into the podcast first. We launched it in 2018, was our first season. And during that season, we really wanted to kind of focus on the winding path into STEM careers. Very few people have a point A, point B career. I want to be this, and I, took these steps and I got there. Almost everybody we talked to had a winding path where different opportunities led to different things. We really wanted to highlight that in season 1. In season 2, we also wanted to touch upon what are things that different traits, different skills that are called upon in different types of careers, because it's not. There's a lot of things in the toolbox that kind of relate to how to be successful in this field. And then all in all, so to date, we have 18 episodes. We have over 22 different experts, and everybody comes from a variety of backgrounds. Everything from an ethnopharmacologist, where you'll get to hear a sample of that episode, to a global tree conservationist. We also have a creator, somebody who's a researcher and also a creator of a YouTube series about plants. So it's a very diverse group of professionals who showcase a lot of different, both careers themselves and then also traits in this field. Okay, so with that, I want to give you a sample of what this sounds like. You're going to get a preview of an episode from our first season. This is episode 4, which we talked about merging interests. And our guest on this episode was Dr. Aurélie Jacquet. She's an ethnopharmacologist, which is such a cool job. And you'll get to learn a little bit more about that particular job and career in this episode sample.
Well, we're really excited to learn more about you, your career, and the field of ethnopharmacology, which is not something that maybe everyone is familiar with, that it's the study of the use of medicinal plants and how local healers or community leaders use them for the treatment of different diseases. So we can't wait to hear about how you have merged your interest in science and photography, and why don't we just get started?
Aurélie, if we asked you back when you were younger, what you wanted to be when you grew up, what would you have said?
When I was younger, I really knew that I wanted to work with plants, and I had a special interest in medicinal plants. And I thought that it would be really cool to learn how people use medicinal plants to treat diseases, so we could make medicine for everybody. And at that time, I didn't know that such job existed. It's only later that I found out that this is called ethnopharmacology. So as soon as I figured that out, I started looking for more information about ethnopharmacology and how to become an ethnopharmacologist.
Okay, so I hope you enjoyed that section of our podcast and got to hear a little bit about ethnopharmacology from our guest, Dr. Aurélie Jacquet. But in addition to the audio content, we also wanted to create some digital content to accompany the project. We recognize that teachers are a great avenue to reach students. And since this is geared towards high school and early undergraduate, we wanted to have NGSS lesson plans aligned to some of the topics and things that were talked about in each of the episodes. We also thought it would lend well to a flipped classroom model, which would allow students to listen to the episode ahead of time and then do an activity related to it in class. We also recognize that it's very audio content, so we wanted to have some visuals, and a lot of times these came directly from our guests, so we could share some of their work. We wanted to get feedback from teachers as to what they wanted us to ask before we went into the recording studio. And so we created profiles of each guest that they could kind of preview, and then we would incorporate some of the questions that they wanted us to ask when we did our recordings. But it also then lended itself to have a profile of each guest that students could look at to see their background and really humanize many of these researchers so students could really understand who they were and begin to visualize themselves in those career paths. And then we also we asked them to highlight their favorite plant or plant species in a lot of cases, just to highlight some of the diverse plants across the world. So this is a sample of a number of the, like I mentioned before, every episode has an activity. So we have a lot to pull from. The image all the way on the right is actually a nerve cell image. And that was provided by Aurélie, or Dr. Jacquet. And so she provided some of her microscopy images, which students could analyze a healthy nerve cell, a nerve cell that had been treated with a toxin, and then look at how that changed the nerve cell structure. And so it was a direct way for them to kind of work and look at her research in a very hands-on way. So some of the topics covered, there's obviously a wide range, everything from conservation to sustainability, grafting, invasive species, taxonomy, science communication itself as a field. And so we're excited that we're able in both seasons to highlight a real large variety of different topics in the field of plant science and horticulture. And with that, I'll let Jessica kind of share our reach, some of the impact we've been able to have with this project, as well as the Canopy Career Chronicles project.
Thank you so much, Megan. I am Jessica Turner-Scoff, the Science Communication Leader or Triologist at the Morton Arboretum. And I don't know about you, but I just get so excited seeing that list of great science content that we feature in both Season 1 and Season 2. Now let's move on and talk a little bit how we built Season 2. So we really wanted to build it on the feedback. So like design thinking and learning, we wanted to make sure that we were delivering a product that our audience actually wanted and needed. So we based Season 2 based on the feedback we received. And some of that was people really were interested in having more of a visual component. So we created a video podcast through Matthew Taylor, our videographer at the Morton Arboretum, and we featured Marvin Lowe's episode. Now, Marvin is a research assistant at the Morton Arboretum, and he's done amazing work, everything from understanding tree root architecture, which you can see in this screenshot, but he also he helped with a project where we collaborated with NASA to study trees. And so we have his great storytelling ability with the backdrop of these great visuals. So it's really a fun episode that we were able to contribute for online content. We also heard people wanted it to be more non-sequential. So we had initially Season 1 was based on the journey into plant STEM careers. And so, you could listen to an individual episode, absolutely, but it was designed to be more of a journey. So Season 2, we developed it based on traits. So it was more modular in design, allowing for people to pick and choose based on their interests. We also really wanted to increase the diversity of our guests. So the feedback that we got is that people were really interested in having more of a perspective of different levels of education. Season 1 was very heavy on PhDs, and that's not the career path for everybody. So instead, we focused on some careers that required associate's degrees. We interviewed somebody who has an MBA, so really showing that diversity. And that also extends to career fields. So, we focus on the business side of horticulture by interviewing Anna Ball, CEO of Ball Horticultural Company, and we interview an arborist, we interview VPs at the Morton Arboretum. So really trying to give a diverse perspective of what those careers could look like for the listener. And the evaluation's been really fun. So as of June 12th, we've had just around 7,800 downloads in over 50 countries and in all 50 states. Now, this is a very niche podcast about careers in plant STEM. So we're very excited by these numbers. We've gotten a lot of positive feedback from the audience, including a couple individual emails where people have said that this has encouraged them to change their career path or pursue this as a career, working with plants. And it's actually been featured on other podcasts, which has been really fun for us. So we've been featured on Mark Lesser's No Such Thing and Matt Candice's In Defense of Plants, which is a very large plant podcast. So some of the lessons that we've learned from this experience with Planted, first of all, like design thinking and learning, build with the audience in mind. What do they want? What do they need? It's going to make a much stronger and more successful product. Look for strategic partnerships when possible. So we partnered with the College of DuPage. Their multimedia services actually produces the podcast for us. And we do a nice shout out to them in our outro, but it was also, they were interested in having more access on site at the Morton Arboretum for their students. So it was a really great partnership, having them produce this for us, really professional sound quality. And then, their students get to experience our outdoor tree museum. Also look for ways to widen your network for exposure and growth. So we really focused on having experts, not just from the Morton Arboretum, but from across, actually internationally. This is the way that they can reach their own networks. The information can be shared. And it's a great way to really have that kind of cross promotion and have an increased exposure. So now that we've heard about Planted, let's move forward to Canopy Career Chronicles. Now, the Canopy Career Chronicles is a series of 8 graphic novels that highlight the career journeys of diverse plant science professionals. So again, going back to what our informal focus group with 9th and 12th graders told us from the beginning, they want real stories with experts highlighting the different career paths they can go into and a really easy to digest resource. So that is also one of the reasons that the Canopy Career Chronicles came about. There's a series of 8 of them. They were released online in 2019. And we also have a print version that was released this year. And again, these stories are based on real people and experiences. And it all starts with a fun, interactive online platform. So not unlike a BuzzFeed quiz where you can find out what type of nacho you are, this is a way that you can figure out what type of career path you could pursue in STEM careers. And let's go to the website. So if you go to mortonarb.org and you look for Canopy Career Chronicles, this is the webpage that you'll come across. So this is our interactive online platform. And so let's start with taking the quiz to find out what tree science career fits you. So this is on a scale from meh to OMG, this is exactly what I want to do. So working with a lot of different people towards a shared goal. For me, yes, let's do that, OMG. How about collecting and analyzing data? Well, you know, during my doctorate, I learned that it's not my favorite thing in the world, but I can do it. So I'll put down middle of the road there. Doing hands-on outdoor work, something that I enjoy absolutely. Exploring a lot of different topics, maybe even outside of your comfort zone. As a science communicator, yes. Focusing on one particular subject for a long time. You know what, that's not for me, that's more meh. Figuring out how research can be applied in the real world, absolutely. Working with technology and finding new ways to use it. Well, you know, this whole presentation is about finding new ways to use technology. So we'll put that I'm interested in that. Traveling the world, absolutely. Being creative and solving problems, absolutely. So before I hit submit, I just want to also show that here are the 8 stories, and you can click on any one of those to read those stories as well. So let's see what my results are. All right, my quiz results. We have Chloe, the research assistant, Dina, the conservation advocate, or Monica, the conservation leader. I'm gonna go ahead and click Monica. And so each of those stories, you know, you have the graphic novel itself, but they also have what you can do if you want to be like Monica. So you can dig in deeper, which has information on what you can do at your current place in life to help build your skills, build your knowledge around these topics that might align with this career, how you can take action, and you know, finding ways to kind of explore this career path. We also have additional resources. So it links to the podcast when applicable. So, you know, Monica was based on our Murphy Westwood, who is our director of the Global Tree Conservation Program at the Morton Arboretum, and we interview her in the podcast. So you can actually hear from this woman, her experiences, and her career path. You can visit some of our online exhibits, and also it links to buying a printed version. You can also download the printable version of the story here. So let's just, I'm not going to read through the entire thing, but we'll just take a couple of slides. Monica, the conservation leader, translating science into action. Next, we'll see some of our younger plants. This takes place in Mexico. Let's see here. They're just a bunch of pots. No, there's something inside. What are these little guys? These are oak trees from Baja Sur, Mexico, and their story is anything but ordinary. The first time I walked into that grove, I was in awe. But there was something strange going on there. It's like an oak retirement community. Now, as you go through the rest of the story, you get to see how she became inspired to pursue her career in conservation, what her job looks like, and how she ended up choosing her career path. I hope you all take the opportunity to go online, take the quiz, and kind of explore and see what careers are out there, and you know, definitely share these resources with your science enthusiasts or next generation plant professional that you know. Let's talk a little bit about evaluations and next step with Canopy Career Chronicles. Now, we're still in the process of evaluating reach and impact. You know, this is an ongoing process, but I will say that the initial responses have been extremely positive, especially those from peer institution and educators. We're currently selling hard copies to raise money for an online Spanish version of these stories to help increase our inclusion. Now, our final thoughts, taking both what we've learned from Planted and Canopy Career Chronicles, is that bottom line, when you're doing a project like this, find ways to involve educators and students in the process. What do people actually need? What do they want? How can we create a product that will actually be used and be something that meets the needs of the audience? Collaboration on really large projects like these works best with transparency and clearly defined roles. Making sure everybody knows what they're supposed to be doing, who's doing what, will definitely help the success of the project. Developing a marketing and evaluation strategy early will help you throughout the entire process. It'll help expand your reach, it'll help make sure that you're developing an effective product and that you have those benchmarks to understand your successes or the ways that you can adjust to make your project better in the future. And this one's something that we've definitely learned. Focused meetings with the key contributors are far more effective than larger meetings. So making sure that really thinking about when you're planning a meeting, who's the right people to have in the room, who needs to actually be there, and who just needs to be informed, and who is going to be taking responsibility for different parts of the project will help make this a success. And I want to do a special thanks to all of our partners, the team members that worked on this, and all of the experts that shared their stories. This has been an amazing opportunity for both Megan and I. We've loved working on these projects, and we're really excited that they're out there and making a difference and helping inspire the next generation of plant professionals.
Hello, everyone. I'm Richard Duran, Marketing and Communications Manager at the American Public Gardens Association, and I will be your staff representative during this virtual conference session. And here I actually am. Hello, everyone. Thank you all for coming. It's been a wonderful start to our virtual conference. We do have a couple of questions and answers here. We do have Megan and Jessica here with us as well. Thank you for a great presentation, both of you. A couple of the questions did get answered during the chat itself, so if you guys want to look at the things that are in there, please do. One of the ones that is open right now, though, is what kind of response have you gotten from the younger generation on the Canopy Career Chronicles?
So we have youth volunteers that we've shared these stories with, and they've very much loved them. Also a lot of our staff has shared them with their children at home, and they've been really well received. So it's still something, like I mentioned, we're still working on the more formalized evaluation, but anecdotally, people really enjoy them. And I think the professionals enjoy them as much as our targeted audience.
Just to jump on what Jessica just mentioned about our youth volunteers, during this period of time where we've been sheltering in place and learning in place, our youth volunteer program, which usually runs during the summer months, and that's a program in which we have youth ages middle school all the way through high school, and they come on site. They work on a number of projects, both in our children's garden with our summer science camp program, and then also with a couple other citizen science projects that take place on site. They obviously couldn't be on site for a period of time this early spring. And one of the projects that they were given kind of projects to engage with some content. One of the projects that they were given was they had choice, and one of them was Canopy Career Chronicles, and several of them chose them. So there's been interesting feedback just to see in their kind of projects that they had to kind of analyze different stories that drew to them and kind of what their thoughts were and how that is informing or influencing their own decisions about their career path. So that's been kind of a neat and kind of COVID specific feedback that we've been able to use this content, because it is digital in a different way than how we maybe thought we'd be using it when it was put online.
And the youth volunteers they've been great for both projects, because I know they even helped us pick our theme music.
They did for the podcast.
This is one of the questions. We are sort of running close to the end here. We want to make sure everyone can get over to the opening reception, but how many teens and teachers were involved in the focus groups at the beginning?
Well,
go ahead.
No, it's okay.
So the initial focus group for the Planted podcast was housed within a on-site field trip experience that we had for about 40 youth. I wouldn't say all 40 were involved in that particular conversation, but we did like a networking lunch. And during that networking lunch was kind of when we had some of those questions that we wanted to get from the audience. It was incredibly informal though. It was not like how we would normally run a focus group with youth at that age, where we're having very targeted outcomes that we're looking for. But that was I would say probably at the table between 10 and 15 individuals who contributed to that initial conversation.
But from there, we've done this with Teacher Institute days that Megan has ran at the Morton Arboretum. We've done this with the youth volunteers. Basically, if we have anybody that we can sit in a room for about 15 minutes, we make them contribute in some way.
Great. We do have a couple more questions. Unfortunately, we are pretty much out of time now. We'll see if we can get some answers to those and maybe email them out. And they'll also be appended to the questions and answers when we do post this up onto the conference website. It should be within about 72 hours. Thank you again to Megan and Jessica from the Morton Arboretum and all of you here today for being a part of today's session. I think this has been wonderful. We'd also like to thank Lake Fleto for sponsoring this year's education and communication track. Learn more about Lake Fleto at lakefleto.com, LAKEFLATO.com. Today's opening reception is beginning pretty much right now, and you can find a link on the main conference schedule pages. Click on live sessions and then go to opening reception and click join session. And thanks to BHS Insurance for making this opening day free to all of our members. And thank you all again for being a part of our first ever virtual conference. Bye.
Thank you.